The morning air was crisp, carrying the scent of dew-kissed grass and the promise of a beautiful day. I, Richard Sherwood, an elderly black man of 78 years, relished these simple pleasures. My bones weren't what they used to be, and my gait had slowed with age, hence the trusty cane that accompanied me on my daily walks. It was more than just a walking aid, it was a steadfast companion, a silent witness to the world unfolding around me. This morning, I decided to take my usual route through our quiet suburban neighborhood. The sun was just beginning to peek over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of soft oranges and pinks. Birdsong filled the air, a cheerful symphony that always lifted my spirits. I enjoyed these walks, they helped me keep active and connected to the community I'd been a part of for over 40 years. This neighborhood had been my sanctuary, the place where I raised my children, celebrated milestones, and built a life filled with love and memories. Sadly, over the last few years, a shadow had fallen over its tranquility, in the form of my next-door neighbor, Karen. From the moment she moved in, Karen had displayed a peculiar animosity towards me. I couldn't quite put my finger on the reason. I had always extended a hand of friendship, offering a welcoming smile and a helping hand whenever she seemed to need it. But my efforts were met with cold indifference, snide remarks, and an unmistakable air of disdain. I tried to ignore it, attributing it to a personality clash or some misunderstanding on my part. But her behavior persisted, escalating from subtle jabs to blatant disrespect. I'd often catch her staring at me from her window with a look of disapproval, or overhear her making disparaging comments about my lawn or my car. It was unsettling, to say the least, but I refused to let her negativity disrupt my peace. I chalked it up to her own personal issues, hoping that one day she would find a way to let go of her prejudice. As I rounded the corner onto Elm Street, I saw Karen standing near her mailbox, arms crossed, a scowl etched on her face. My heart sank. I knew this wasn't going to be a pleasant encounter. I considered crossing the street to avoid her, but I decided against it. I wasn't going to let her dictate my movements or confine me to my own home. I had every right to be here, just as much as she did. As I approached, she fixed her gaze on me, her eyes narrowed with annoyance. "Good morning, Karen," I said, offering a polite nod. She didn't respond. Instead, she waited until I was directly in front of her before launching into a tirade. "You need to walk faster, old man," she snapped, her voice dripping with venom. "You're holding everyone up. Some of us have places to be, you know." I was taken aback by her sudden outburst. I'd never seen her this aggressive before. "I'm sorry, Karen," I stammered, "I'm just taking my morning walk. I didn't realize I was bothering anyone." My apology seemed to fuel her anger even further. Her face turned a shade of crimson, and her eyes blazed with an almost frightening intensity. "Bothering anyone? You're more than just a bother," she spat, her voice rising in pitch. "You're an eyesore. You and your slow, shuffling feet. You think you own this neighborhood, just because you've been here longer? Well, you're wrong. This is my neighborhood now, and I don't want to see your kind around here." Her words stung like a slap in the face. I had heard racial slurs before, in my younger years, but I never expected to encounter such blatant bigotry in this day and age, especially from someone I considered a neighbor. I tried to remain calm, to reason with her, but her hatred seemed to be consuming her. "Karen, please," I pleaded, "I don't understand why you're saying these things. I've never done anything to hurt you. Don't play innocent with me," she sneered. "I know what you people are like. You're all the same. Lazy, entitled, and always playing the victim. You think you deserve special treatment just because of your color? Well, you're not getting it from me." My blood began to boil. I had always prided myself on maintaining my composure, on refusing to stoop to the level of those who sought to demean me. But her words were pushing me to the brink. I wanted to lash out, to defend myself, but I knew that wouldn't solve anything. It would only validate her prejudices and give her the satisfaction of knowing she had gotten under my skin. I took a deep breath, struggling to regain control of my emotions. Karen, I said, my voice trembling slightly, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just going to continue my walk. I attempted to step around her, but she blocked my path. Not so fast, she snarled, reaching out and grabbing my cane. I'm tired of looking at that thing. It's just another symbol of your weakness and your entitlement. Before I could react, she yanked the cane from my grasp, sending me stumbling forward. I lost my balance and fell to the ground, landing hard on my hip. A sharp pain shot through my leg, and I cried out in agony. Karen stood over me, a triumphant smirk on her face. That's what you get, she said, her voice cold and devoid of any empathy. Maybe now you'll learn to walk a little faster. Then, without another word, she turned and walked away, leaving me lying on the sidewalk, helpless and humiliated. I watched her disappear into her house, my heart filled with a mixture of anger, disbelief, and despair. How could someone be so cruel, so heartless? What had I ever done to deserve such treatment? As I lay there, struggling to get up, I noticed that my next-door neighbor on the other side, Mr. Hart, was standing on his porch, watching everything. He had a look of shock and concern on his face. I didn't know him well, but I was grateful that at least someone had witnessed what had happened. I knew I couldn't stay on the ground forever. I needed to get home, to call for help. But my leg was throbbing, and I couldn't put any weight on it. I took another deep breath and tried to push myself up, but the pain was too intense. I slumped back down, defeated. Just when I was starting to lose hope, I heard Mr. Hart calling out to me. Richard. Are you all right? I saw everything. I'm coming to help you. He rushed down his porch steps and hurried over to where I was lying. His face was etched with concern as he knelt beside me. Can you hear me, Richard? Are you hurt badly? I nodded weakly. My leg, I groaned, I think I twisted it when I fell. Mr. Hart carefully examined my leg, his touch gentle and reassuring. It looks like it might be sprained, he said. We need to get you inside. Can you put any weight on it? I tried to move my leg, but a wave of pain washed over me. No, I gasped, I can't. All right, Mr. Hart said, don't worry. I'll help you up. Just lean on me. He carefully lifted me to my feet, supporting my weight as I struggled to stand. With his assistance, I was able to hobble slowly towards my house. It was a grueling effort, and every step sent a jolt of pain through my leg. But Mr. Hart was patient and encouraging, urging me to keep going. Just a little further, Richard, he said. You're doing great. We're almost there. Finally, we reached my front door. Mr. Hart helped me inside and guided me to the living room, where he gently lowered me onto the sofa. I collapsed against the cushions, exhausted and relieved. Thank you, Mr. Hart, I said, my voice hoarse. I don't know what I would have done without you. He smiled reassuringly. Don't mention it, Richard. I couldn't just stand by and watch you suffer. No one deserves to be treated like that. He paused, his expression turning serious. What Karen did was wrong, Richard. It was hateful and uncalled for. You shouldn't let her get away with it. I sighed. I know, I said, but what can I do? It's her word against mine. Not necessarily, Mr. Hart said, a glint in his eye. I saw everything, Richard. I'm willing to testify on your behalf. And I think you might have another piece of evidence as well. He pointed to the security camera that I had installed above my front door. That camera probably caught the whole thing, he said. If it did, you'll have undeniable proof of what happened. My eyes widened with hope. I had almost forgotten about the camera. I had installed it a few months ago, after a series of burglaries in the neighborhood. I never thought it would capture something like this, but if it did, it could be a game changer. You're right, I said, I need to check the footage. Mr. Hart helped me retrieve my laptop from the study, and together we reviewed the security camera recordings from that morning. Sure enough, the camera had captured everything. It showed Karen confronting me, verbally abusing me, and then forcibly taking my cane, causing me to fall. It was all there, in stark and undeniable detail. As we watched the footage, I felt a surge of anger and vindication. I had proof of Karen's hateful actions, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. "I'm calling the police," I said, my voice firm. "I'm pressing charges." Mr. Hart nodded in approval. "That's the right thing to do, Richard," he said. "She needs to be held accountable for her actions. I'll stay here with you until the police arrive." I dialed 911 and reported the incident, providing the dispatcher with all the details. I explained what had happened, emphasizing the racial slurs and the physical assault. I also mentioned the security camera footage and Mr. Hart's willingness to testify. The dispatcher assured me that officers would be dispatched to my location immediately. While we waited for the police to arrive, Mr. Hart and I discussed the situation further. He shared his own experiences with prejudice and discrimination, and we bonded over our shared commitment to fighting against injustice. It was comforting to know that I wasn't alone in this fight. When the police officers arrived, they were professional and empathetic. They listened attentively to my account of the incident, asking clarifying questions and taking detailed notes. They also interviewed Mr. Hart, who corroborated my story. After reviewing the security camera footage, the officers informed me that they would be arresting Karen on charges of assault, harassment, and hate crime. They explained that the district attorney would review the case and determine the appropriate charges to file. I felt a sense of relief wash over me. Finally, Karen was going to face the consequences of her actions. As the officers prepared to leave, they asked me if I needed medical attention. I admitted that my leg was still throbbing, so they called for an ambulance. The paramedics arrived shortly after and examined my leg. They confirmed that it was indeed sprained and advised me to seek further medical care. They transported me to the local hospital, where I received treatment and was fitted with a brace. While I was at the hospital, the police officers executed a search warrant at Karen's house. They were acting on a hunch, based on her history of bigoted behavior and the intensity of her hatred. What they found inside was shocking and disturbing. Hidden in her basement, they discovered a shrine dedicated to white supremacy. There were Nazi flags, Ku Klux Klan robes, and a collection of racist literature. It was clear that Karen was deeply involved in a hate group. The police also found evidence suggesting that she had been plotting to harass and intimidate other minority residents in the neighborhood. It was a chilling discovery that confirmed my worst fears about her. When the police informed me of their findings, I was both horrified and vindicated. I had always suspected that Karen's hatred ran deeper than just a personal dislike for me. Now I knew the truth. The news of Karen's arrest and the discovery of her hate group affiliation spread like wildfire throughout the neighborhood. People were shocked and disgusted. Many of my neighbors expressed their support and offered their apologies for not recognizing Karen's true nature sooner. They admitted that they had dismissed her behavior as eccentric or harmless, but now they realized the danger she posed. I was grateful for their support, but I couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness and disappointment. How could someone harbor so much hate in their heart? What drove them to embrace such a twisted ideology? The incident with Karen had shaken me to my core, but it had also strengthened my resolve to fight against prejudice and discrimination. I realized that silence was not an option. I needed to speak out, to share my story, and to educate others about the dangers of hate and intolerance. With the help of my family and friends, I organized a community meeting to discuss the issue of racism and hate in our neighborhood. The meeting was well attended, and people from all walks of life came together to express their concerns and to brainstorm solutions. We formed a neighborhood watch group to monitor for hate crimes and to promote diversity and inclusion. We also launched a campaign to educate young people about the importance of tolerance and respect. The response from the community was overwhelmingly positive. People were eager to learn, to connect, and to work together to create a more inclusive and welcoming environment. It was a long and arduous process, but we were determined to make a difference. Meanwhile, Karen's case was making its way through the legal system. The district attorney charged her with a slew of offenses, including assault, harassment, hate crime, and possession of hate propaganda. The evidence against her was overwhelming, and her chances of acquittal were slim. Her lawyer tried to argue that she was mentally ill and that her actions were the result of a temporary lapse in judgment. But the prosecution presented evidence that Karen had been actively involved in hate groups for years and that her actions were premeditated and intentional. The trial was a media circus, with reporters and cameras swarming the courthouse every day. The community was closely watching the proceedings, hoping for justice to be served. I testified at the trial, recounting the details of the incident and sharing my personal experiences with Karen's bigotry. It was difficult and emotionally draining, but I knew that I had to speak the truth. Mr. Hart also testified, providing a detailed account of what he had witnessed. His testimony was crucial in establishing Karen's guilt. After several days of testimony and deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. They found Karen guilty on all counts. The courtroom erupted in applause as the verdict was read. I felt a sense of relief and vindication. Justice had been served. Karen was sentenced to a lengthy prison term, and she was also ordered to undergo mandatory counseling and sensitivity training. The judge sternly condemned her actions, emphasizing that hate and bigotry had no place in our society. The verdict sent a clear message that hate crimes would not be tolerated and that those who commit them would be held accountable. After the trial, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I continued to work with the community to promote diversity and inclusion, and I became an advocate for victims of hate crimes. I shared my story with schools, churches, and community organizations, hoping to inspire others to stand up against prejudice and discrimination. The incident with Karen had been a painful and traumatic experience, but it had also taught me valuable lessons. I learned that hate can manifest itself in unexpected places and that it is important to be vigilant in combating it. I also learned about the power of community, the importance of speaking out, and the strength of resilience. In the years that followed, our neighborhood became a more welcoming and inclusive place. People from different backgrounds came together to celebrate their diversity and to build a stronger community. We organized cultural festivals, interfaith dialogues, and community service projects. We created a safe space for people to share their stories and to learn from one another. I realized that change was possible, but it required constant effort and commitment. As for me, I continued to take my daily walks, accompanied by my trusty cane. But now, when I walked through the neighborhood, I felt a sense of pride and hope. I knew that we had overcome a dark chapter in our history and that we were building a better future for ourselves and for generations to come. The scar of Karen's hatred would always be there, but it would serve as a reminder of the importance of fighting for justice, equality, and love. And that, I knew, was a legacy worth fighting for. I also became closer to Mr. Hart and we both learned from each other and became lifelong friends.